Hello and welcome to the France 24 interview. Our guest today is Ayman Safadi. He's Jordan's Deputy Prime Minister and he is Jordan's Foreign Minister. Thank you very much for being on the set.
Thank you, sir. Pleased to be here.
A few days ago, the Foreign Minister of the United Arab Emirates paid a visit to Bashar al-Assad in Damascus, the first such visit in a decade. In early October, His Majesty King Abdullah took a call from Bashar al-Assad. It seems that normalization is on the way with Syria after 10 years.
So what we're talking about here is solving the Syrian crisis. We believe that this is a crisis that has gone for far too long, a crisis that has caused tremendous damage to the Syrian people, to us, to everybody in the world. And we have not seen any real strategy in the past few years to try and take us towards a solution. So what we're trying to do in Jordan is to work with all our partners and friends towards finding a way to move with efforts to bring about a political solution that would preserve the unity of Syria, that would end the suffering of the Syrian people, and that would ultimately restore peace and security to that key Arab country. This is what we're doing, and this is what we're talking about.
This means, to be clear, Bashar al-Assad is here to stay. Everyone has to recognize the reality, even if many countries, including in the region, don't like it.
What we say again, sir, is that we've got to do what it takes to end this crisis. It's not for us to decide who runs Syria, but it is for all of us to try and work and bring about an end to this catastrophe that, again, has shattered the lives of millions of Syrians. In my country alone, sir, we have 1.3 million Syrians. We're a country that has 367 kilometers of border with Syria. Our trade to Europe was disrupted. The burden of refugees has been enormous. The threat of terrorism, the threat of drug trafficking, all that is a major threat to our national interest that we have to deal with. And as such, again, what we're trying to do in Jordan is what we always do in Jordan, which is try to find solutions and push towards peace. And we're working towards finding a political solution to this crisis. And everybody agrees that the only end to the crisis is a political solution, and that's what we're trying to do.
Will Syria be brought back into the fold of the Arab League, possibly at the next meeting, which is scheduled for early next year in Algeria?
That is an Arab League decision, and I cannot speak.
Would it be a good move
of the Arab League? I think what we all want is to see progress towards ending the crisis in Syria. Now, how do we do that? We have 2254 as a benchmark that the whole world agrees on. Do we need to engage to bring about that solution? Absolutely.
So you're in favor of Syria going back into the Arab League?
What I would say, what I believe is really important is for the Arabs to have a role in efforts to bring about a solution to the Syrian crisis. It is incomprehensible, it is unacceptable that the Arabs collectively do not have a role in international efforts to end the crisis. We are most affected by the crisis. Syria, by the end of the day, is an Arab country. The Syrian people are Arab people. And it is imperative that we as Arabs have a role in efforts to end this crisis.
You're in favor of that?
I'm in favor of engagement with a view to solving the crisis.
Are you going to Damascus anytime soon?
No.
No? Do you agree that although there seems to be a building consensus in the Arab world, there's still the U.S. opposing normalization with Syria? Do you think they're just saying this because they've been saying this for years and they are not ready to change their mind? Or do they understand that the reality is changing and that you have to face it, even though it might be Bashar al-Assad?
Look, again, I can't speak for the United States of America.
But you have a lot of interaction with them.
But we do interact with them. We express our position. They express our position. America is our closest ally. So we have a continuous dialogue. Again, what we're putting on the table is what everybody else is putting on the table, is find a solution to this crisis. The status quo, sir, is no option. So we cannot continue with the status quo politics because what is it doing? And again, give me any criteria by which you're going to assess the effectiveness or lack of the current approach to Syria.
It's a failure, let's say.
So we have to look for success, and the success is in working towards a political solution.
So you're urging the Biden administration to change tack and open channels with the Syrian regime.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that we in Jordan, the US is going to do what it wants to do, but I'm saying what we in Jordan are saying is that we need to find a political solution, and we're looking for that in coordination with all our friends and partners, and the parameter for that is clear. Again, we all agree that there's no answer except a political one, and we need to work towards that one.
Alors, sorry, there is maybe a concrete example, a proposal whereby Egyptian fuel, Jordan electricity would be sent to Lebanon via Jordan and Syria. For this to happen, you need a U.S. administration waiver because those transactions could be at least seen illegal by the U.S. And it seems that could happen. Do you think there will be such a waiver? And would this signal that the U.S. is ready maybe to think in other ways?
Look, this is a different story. What we're trying to do here is to help the Lebanese people.
Right.
As you know, Lebanon is suffering from a paralyzing disruption in its energy supplies and electricity. We wanted to help Lebanon. So the only way to get the electricity to Lebanon or the gas to Lebanon is through Jordan and Syria. So we discussed that, and we talked to the Americans, and the World Bank is a party to those discussions. And we have an agreement now to provide electricity to Syria, and there's an ongoing conversation about providing Egyptian gas. That is going to be done, and that is being done transparently, openly, and with the view of helping Lebanon, and the Syrians are on board with that as well.
And the Americans have granted this waiver to allow...
The Americans have publicly said that they support the provision of electricity and energy to Syria through this mechanism.
I want to get to the relations with Israel. The economy ministers from Jordan and Israel recently met officially for the first time in many years. There was recently an agreement whereby Israel would provide more water to Jordan. Would you say the relations are improving after the difficult years under Benjamin Netanyahu?
Well, I mean, the years have been of Prime Minister Netanyahu were years of disruptiveness on everything, whether the peace process, whether relations with the region, and with this new government, there is ongoing conversation. There are open channels. We're talking. The trade you speak of is the exports of Jordanian products into the West Bank. You might be surprised to know that Jordan's export to the West Bank 27 years into the peace treaty were less than they were before we signed the peace treaty. For years with the Netanyahu government, this did not move on again because I think that government and the Prime Minister just disrupted everything positive. But with this government, we had a conversation, and we, of course, an agreement with the Palestinians. And now we reached a deal that would increase Jordanian exports to the West Bank from $169 million to almost $476 million a year. We also signed an agreement under which we'll be buying water from Israel. So there is an ongoing dialogue with the Israeli government. Of course, we have our disagreements on the peace process. Our position is one that is unwavering. There's no alternative to the two-state solution that would result in a sovereign, independent Palestinian state on June 4, 1967 lines with East occupied Jerusalem as capital. So we're going to continue to work for that political horizon. Meanwhile, Jordan has always worked for peace. We'll continue to do that, and we're engaging, and we engaged in relation to the peace process with the Israeli government, but we also engage other aspects of that. We recently had Mansour Abbas as a respected and representative of the Arab community.
This didn't go down well in Israel. You might
No,
have
I mean,
noticed.
it didn't go well with some disruptive voices. As the ridiculousness of the statements that they made is just clear to everybody. But let me just be clear that in the meeting with Abbas, Jordan has historically had good ties with the Arab community. We've always talked, and we build bridges of communication, but the peace process is something that we do not discuss with Abbas. It's something we discuss with the Israeli government, with whom, as I said, we have open and direct and frank channels. We agree where we agree, we disagree where we disagree, but that conversation is there.
Okay, you're saying essentially the atmospherics are better, but if you look at the cold, hard facts, the Israeli government just announced plans to build 3,000 settlements, some of them deep in the West Bank. There's again condemnation from the US, but it seems that yes, Naftali Bennett might be different from Benjamin Netanyahu, but he's never said that he wants a two-state solution, and he's building new settlements. Are you being maybe naive?
No, we're not, and we're being very firm. And we condemn the building of settlements as illegal measures that would undermine all chances for peace. We condemn the confiscation of land. We reject any unilateral illegal measure that threatens the viability of the peace, because we do believe that the two-state solution on the basis of international law is the only way to move forward. So we're not naive, and we disagree with that position. And again, we refuse and reject and condemn any illegal measure that jeopardize the chances for the just peace for which Jordan has always worked. But all I'm saying is that there is a discussion, and we're trying to see where the discussion is going to take us. As far as Jordan is concerned, we want it to take us towards a just and lasting and comprehensive peace, and we're going to continue to do that. And we're engaging, on very firm basis of what we believe is the right thing to do. But yes, compared to the previous government, where again nothing positive really happened, and where the impact was not just on relations with Jordan, but on the whole peace process was destructive. Now we have a conversation, but through this conversation, we're very clear on where we stand.
So you have some hope that Naftali Bennett might be different in the end, because when you read his statements, he's certainly not more dovish than Benjamin Netanyahu.
The hope that we have is that everybody will realize that nobody is doing anybody a favor by opting for peace, and that there is no alternative to the two-state solution as the path to that peace. And we will continue to work towards that peace in Jordan. Of course, we're working in close coordination with our partners in the US and France and Europe. We're working in close coordination with the Palestinians, of course, with Egypt, with other Arab countries. But that's what Jordan does. Jordan has always engaged, but the objective has always been a just peace. And again, where we have an unwavering position on what is the requirement of that peace, and that is the fulfillment of all the legitimate rights of the Palestinian people, so that they can live in their sovereign state in peace and security with Israel.
Ayman Safari, I want to thank you very much for appearing here on the France 24 interview, and thank you all for watching it.